Hello and welcome to the channel. And for today's video, we are going to check out the new Mattel Masters of the Universe Chronicles He-Man. So, it's been a while since I've done an actual unboxing on the channel. I tend to get a figure and immediately when I get home, open it, play with it for a while, get a feel for it, and then that's when I do a review. But for this occasion, I wanted to save that, immediate response and reaction to a figure on camera um, for this occasion, since we are starting essentially a new chapter with the Masters of the Universe line. So for the past, I don't know, 3-4 years, Mattel has been releasing the Masterverse line, which launched in conjunction with the Kevin Smith Netflix series. So Mattel started a new collector's line of He-Man action figures. And before that, they had released the Origins line, which is basically the vintage figures from the 80s, updated with more articulation and trying to emulate the same sculpts as the classic figures. And then of course we got the Masterverse line. Masterverse was attempting to not replace, but continue in the footsteps of the classics line from the 2000 to 2010s. For many people, the the classics line represents the peak of the Masters of the Universe collectible, right? I mean, if you're a fan of the vintage line, then the Origins line is more geared towards you. So, like I said, so for many, the classics line was the peak of collectible, action figures as far as the He-Man line goes. And then, but when I started get back into collecting in the late 2010s, and then Origins came out, and I was like, oh, cool! I can start collecting Origins, the vintage figures. But now they have slightly more articulation. They weren't super articulated. They just added a few articulation points that the vintage figures didn't have. And then, like I said, the Masterverse line came out, and that's where I went all in. And then within the Masterverse line, you have it kind of split into three. So you had the versions that were based off of the Netflix series, the Kevin Smith series. So the Masterverse line then had the New Eternia line, which was taking the basic original concepts from the origin of the He-Man designs, and they were bringing them into the modern age. And so, but also, like updating them as well, not just basing them off of the original concepts. And then, so that was the New Eternia line. And then recently, I believe it was at the start of this year or late 2025, but certainly by 2026, they had the Vintage Collection, which is basically taking the original figure, the original classic 80s figure, and updating it to the Masterverse line using those old original design features. And so for Chronicles is basically it's gonna be at the forefront for the new He-Man movie, the Masters of the Universe movie that is going to release in a few weeks now, I believe. I'm recording this mid-May, and I believe the movie comes out early June, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But we're not that far away from the release of the movie, and so to push the promotion of the movie, Mattel pretty much paused everything that they were making, and well, that's their words. They said that they're pausing and putting on temporary hiatus everything that they've been doing with the Origins, with the Masterverse, and all of that, and they came out with this new main collector line, which is Chronicles, and with that, a completely new sculpt and articulation and size. So now these figures are, uh, should be in the more common 1/12 scale, and which means the figures will be around 6.5-ish inches, so they will go with the majority of the action figure lines that are being released, here on this side of the world. um, because 1/12 scale in Asia for like Japan and all that, it's a little shorter, a little more true to the scale, while the North American scale of 1/12 is slightly higher. But it's gonna match with your Marvel Legends and your I don't know, GI Joes, anything that's 1/12 scale. No, there's a whole bunch of other lines, right? So we're gonna do a comparison with that when I get to that. But first, let me get a knife here, a cutter or something, so that we can start unboxing this guy. All right, so here we go. Um, okay, in case you wanted to take a look at the packaging, you got a nice image of the actor. Um, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but it's a very good likeness of him as I mean, on the packaging, right? Um, and then we have an image of Skeletor here, um, and then it looks like it's all painted artwork. It's not like photography from or like images taken of the actors. The artwork looks like actual artwork. And then here you have a shot of Gillet. It almost sounds like guillotine, his name, but that's all that's coming to my mind right now. So I'm pardon me if I don't remember the actor's name. And then at the bottom here, you can see the other figures that were released in the wave, which is the Triclops and the Man-at-Arms. And then on the side of the packaging is the same image, but only a little more complete. And then you can see part of the figure here on the side. Like I said, on the bottom, you see the barcode and all of the legal stuff. And then at the top, just, Masters of the Universe and in a matte, and then a gloss for the logos, right? So full disclosure, I do have the Man-at-Arms and the Triclops, but I wanted to save the He-Man to do the unboxing on camera. So even though, like I said, I've already got an idea for the figures, I still wanted to save the He-Man for last to record on camera. So then I ordered these through Amazon Mexico, Again, I always have to remind people, I am located in TJ, south of the border from San Diego, Tijuana for those who don't know. But I always say TJ. If you don't know what TJ is in Mexico, then where have you been? And so I ordered these through Amazon Mexico, and I've had these for about a week or so. And but yeah, I wanted to save He-Man here for last. So here's how the packaging is. He's pretty much just the clamshell, whatever the clamshell here that's holding the figure in place with a few zip ties or whatnot. So you can see here he comes with gripping hands and a pair of fists, which we'll look at close in a second. And then this side of the packaging, which if you're familiar with the you can see here at the side some artwork of what are the contents inside the packaging. But typically what we were having with Masterverse is inside of this little pocket area, they would put in all of the accessories that would come with the figure. I can tell you right now, for the Chronicles line so far, nothing has been placed inside of this little space area. This is almost like filling out a spot of the packaging of the outer of the box, right? I guess for later, for other releases and other lines that are gonna come in the future, then they'll probably use this to pack in other extras. But for right now, with the Chronicles line, and particularly these figures coming out for the movie, there is nothing inside of this little storage container box area, so let me pause for just 1 second so I can get the zip ties off of the figure here. So, okay, we cut all of those, but first let's have a quick look here at the back of the packaging. So we can see here a cool image of what is Castle Grayskull, and it's the location of Castle Grayskull for the movie. Let me see if I can get some better lighting on this. So you can see how the castle is across of a bridge, and then on the edge of a mountain, held up by the tiniest of edges of the hill here. And then on this side, we've got some monuments and some large statues. All of these were featured in the trailer for the movie. The movie looks really good. I mean, from the trailers that we've seen so far, it looks like they've, honored the designs of the characters so far. Obviously, some were updated, like He-Man himself. He doesn't have the same basic design like he had, in the 80s, right? I mean, so yeah, like I said, the designs have been updated somewhat, but for the most part, they all look recognizable, right? That's the key thing. If you were, grew up with He-Man in the 80s, of course, you all remember the Dolph Lundgren movie from the 80s that came out, and those designs the only recognizable thing about those versions of the characters was basically just Skeletor with the skeleton face. But other than that, the characters hardly look like themselves, and some of the main complaints from that movie is everything took place in Earth, hardly anything took place on Eternia, and some people were fearing something like that similar for this movie. And yes, there are scenes in the movie that take place on Earth, but from what we are told, a good chunk of the movie takes place in Eternia. And so here we have the He-Man figure out, and from the looks of it, I think it looks like I got a pretty good, decent quality version of the figure. It looks like I need to fix the gauntlet here on his wrist. But other than that, let's have a closer look at He-Man. So, like I said, again, I'm blanking out a lot right now on the actor's name. I know, like I said, it rhymes with guillotine, but anyway, the resemblance to the actor is pretty good actually. Now, I just saw a post a couple of days ago on Reddit where they were saying there were some variant versions of the figure coming out, um, where the paint on the eyes wasn't nearly as good, and also the jewel here on the crest on the cross was a little not as transparent as like this version that I have. It's a little more matted out. So I don't know. There's some saying that those are like the early runs of the figure, and then the this version is like what do you call it? A running change, and then these are like the second versions of the figure coming out. Again, just what I read, so I'm not sure. But there was definitely a different look to the figure from so that's just something you may want to notice when you pick out your figure if you see it in stores. And so again, so yeah, he does look like the character, like the actor. Um, the What I like about is uh, the actor. I mean, he did put on some weight and a muscle for the role of He-Man, but he doesn't look super jacked like, of course, the vintage action figure or even Dolph Lundgren. Although Lundgren was tall and buff, but he wasn't like super jacked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you could say, right? Arnold had a ton of volume to him. That's basically what a lot of people thought of when thinking of He-Man. Like like when Arnold did Conan. That kind of a big dude, right? That's what a lot of people have in mind when they think of a He-Man. So yeah, it doesn't look like I have a ton of issues here as far as QC goes. Um, and let's take a quick look here at the sword. So the sword is very close to the cartoon version, and not necessarily the version from the um, the original action figure. So they drew more inspiration from that design than the vintage toy. You can see here at the bottom of the handle here, if it'll focus. Uh, but yeah, the it doesn't look like this is painted. This is all just the like that swirly chromed um, plastic, but it does reflect. You can see, it does have a lot of shine to it. Although it doesn't look to be too swirly, maybe down here, but other than that, If you want to repaint it, sure, go ahead. If you want to give it a better shine to it, but I don't think it really needs one. It definitely has a top coat over to give it an extra bit of shine. So this isn't just like the plastic. There's definitely a top coat on this as well. And then here we have the extra pair of fists. So one of the things that I was really excited about for this new line of action figures from Mattel is it may give us an indication of what they may do with the DC license, since they acquired the license. I want to say, officially it was announced earlier this year, 2026. And so for 2027, they are going to be releasing the new collector's line, taking over for McFarlane or from McFarlane. I believe this is a little more closer to what they're going to look like as far as like the articulation system and all of that, and the sculpting and the quality, right? So that's what I was more excited about with these figures, even more so than maybe just having a new line to collect for He-Man. But anyway, let's have a look at that articulation system for He-Man. So he does have the a ball jointed head, a neck, excuse me. And then at the base of the neck, you do have another articulation point. So you get extra movement with the for the head and all of that. So a little more expressive, and for those that do photography and all of that with their action figures, stop motions and all that, the added articulation on the neck might be a welcome addition. They do have the new butterfly system. Not new. They have a new butterfly system for their figures. I mean, I don't know if the WWE figures have this type of shoulder articulation, but the Masterverse line did not. So they have the full rotating shoulder. Pretty sure it's plugged in the ball joint as well. But you can see that they have like the cup system similar to McFarlane, where you have this piece that is plugged in and then this separate piece to fill in the gap, right? And then you still have the double jointed elbows that give pretty good range on the arm. We'll try it without the armor later on in just 1 second, just to see how the full figure poses without the armor, if it encumbers it somewhat. And then you saw here the cut on the below the above the abdominal muscles and below the ab. So you do have like the ball. This is a double ball peg. So no longer do we have the waist cut. So you have movement on top and then at the waist. And honestly, this is the best decision going forward for a lot of action figures. The waist cut is so, for what it was in the early ages of action figures, having the straight waist cut was okay, but you always saw how when you turn your figure, you saw basically this, right? But at least now it doesn't look so ugly, that maybe you don't need to extend so much at the waist, but now you can use the upper torso twist to, make your figures look more dynamic and less action figure-y, and have these little gaps at the bottom, right? So I'm glad that they started to implement the double ball peg waist. And then these do have drop down hips, which is a continuation of the of what Masterverse started to do, not immediately, but somewhere around year two, they started to implement the drop down hip, right? So you do have it here and here. I've seen some reviewers mention that theirs may be stuck, but on mine, we do have full functioning drop hips system. And then you have the double jointed knee. All of the articulation points are really smooth. If you notice, and let me just see, you can hear, just really quiet. You don't hear creaking or bending or ratcheting or anything like that. Everything is buttery smooth, right? And then the ankles, again, it uses the ball hinge system similar to what McFarlane uses. So you can get up and down the twist, and but then also like a complete full rotation. And if we can give him his sword, the wrists are similar. They have the ball hinge system, so you can go. Let me see, where is the hinge located on this? Okay, so you can see it here on the side right now. So we can go side to side, but if we turn it, we can have the. There we go. We can have him do the whole sword aloft pose. Probably not. Oh, this is twisted here. There we go. A little better. So now you can have him do like the vintage pose from, oops. You can have him do the vintage pose from the cartoon when he transforms into He-Man. So yeah, I'm really excited about the future of Mattel with Masters of the Universe and with DC going forward. Hopefully, like I said, the figures come out as good as this line of figures from that we've gotten so far with the Chronicles. Let me just remove the sword here for the next stage here of the review, which is the size comparisons. So we're gonna compare him against a few select figures that I have here. So to start off the comparison, we're gonna bring out my original, a little dusty. Sorry I didn't clean him up before putting him on camera. My original He-Man from 1982, and you can tell he's an original because the band for the legs is twisted, and the you can't really stand up the figure. But you can see here the size difference between the original and the new and the latest line for Masters of the Universe. So to get an official measurement, this guy, I don't know if this ruler is gonna fit. Nope. But if we bring him outside, he is around 18. Yeah, around 18 centimeters, which equals about 6 6 and 3/4, so just a little above 6 and 3/4 inches tall, right? Okay, so there's that comparison with the original He-Man. And then something slightly more modern is the, there we go, bumping the camera again. Here we have the Origins He-Man, which is again, should be similar to the original vintage figure, just like I said, with slightly added articulation, but they're basically the same size. And then from there, just a slightly step up is the cartoon collection. The cartoon collection is a little bit taller than the origin. From the cartoon collection is within the Origins line, but compared to the Origins figure itself, he is slightly taller. Right? And then recently, we had a crossover between Thundercats and He-Man. And then that He-Man, that line was basically almost like the prototype for the new cartoon collection versions of the 2000X Masters of the Universe line from early 2000s. So we've been getting those figures come out in the cartoon collection, but they use different sculpting. And so I created a custom He-Man from that line. Using parts from other lines. I believe he has legs from, since I had the Faker from the cartoon collection, I used those legs on this guy because the legs that come for the molds used for the Thundercats Masters of the Universe crossover line, the sculpting is a little thinner, and so I used the legs from the Faker from the cartoon collection. But everything else is pretty much the He-Man from that we got from that crossover. Also, the chest harness is the one from the cartoon collection as well. I believe the arms may also be the ones from cartoon collection. I'm not 100% on that. I'm pretty sure they are. But anyway, that's just my mix mash of my own custom He-Man. And then finally, we are going to compare him to what was the latest collector's line from Mattel for the MOTU figures. This is the Masterverse He-Man. Originally, this was the what were they calling it? The 40th anniversary He-Man. But anyway, so this is basically the predecessor line to Chronicles, right? So we don't know. Obviously, you can see the difference here in heights. We don't. I mean, we were told, like I said earlier, that they put everything on pause for the push of the promotional material for the movie. So a lot of stuff like everything is gonna be focused just on the movie. So any figure, any ancillary marketing stuff that comes out will be solely based for the movie, and the movie versions, right? So right now we don't know how long is that gonna last. If it's just for 2026 or going into 2027. Mattel didn't reveal a lot during their live stream like a few months back when they announced or when they had a big event, and they just and they announced the figures, and they just told us that Masterverse Origins would be just put on pause for a moment, right? So let's see if they decide to finish off whatever we had going with Masterverse and, and all of those sublines within Masterverse, or if it's just done. Hopefully not, because there's still a few figures left to be done, and the vintage collection line had just started off. So who knows? We don't know. Let's see what 2027 brings to the table. I guess we can do some head swaps to see how these figures look like with different versions. So I'm gonna bring out the Origins He-Man and use his head on the Chronicles He-Man. I believe there is some compatibility with a few lines, but not all of them. So I believe the ball joint is about the same size. Actually, the ball joint for the Origins, at least the socket, well, yeah, I mean, and the ball joint itself, right, is larger. So, but that's what the Chronicles figure looks like with the Origins head, and without stretching out without stretching out the ball joint, that's what the Origins figure would look like with the live action head. Um, Probably something like this. If we were to put it on, they are releasing, just in case I forgot to mention, they are releasing Origins style figures for the movie line. So the we're gonna get this body type and these type of features, but for using the armors and the likeness of the actors for the movie. So those are be coming out also, and I may collect those as well because they will make good companion pieces for the Origins line. And then if we bring out, let's say, well, this my custom He-Man from that I just used from the Thundercats line. I don't know if that one is gonna fit. It fits a little bit better. And that's actually not a bad looking fit because the head is a little smaller than the vintage. I'm sorry, the Origins figure. So the head fits on this one. So that's an option, I guess. You can use this body type with this head sculpt. The skin tone seems to be a match. And if we try and put it on this figure, still nope. But if you can get an idea of what that looks like. But yeah, this actually isn't bad. This actually isn't bad. And then finally, oh, well, since we brought him out earlier, the cartoon collection He-Man. Um, I guess. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. Again, the skin tone is a pretty good match. Again, you would need to heat up the socket for the ball joint on the head to try and fit it on this body buck to have him placed lower. But it's still the head is still too big. I'm sorry, the body is too big for this head sculpt. Yeah. But again, that also doesn't look too bad, in my opinion. And then finally the Masterverse He-Man. Yeah, that's slightly too big. Yeah, it's a little too big for the body, and obviously this is gonna be looking ridiculous. All right, even if the head fit all the way through, which actually does. No, but you know, it almost reminds me of that Rob Liefeld Captain America drawing with the chest puffed out all the way, tiny head. This is basically Rob Liefeld proportion. This is basically a Rob Liefeld drawing come to life. This right here. Yeah. So I don't know what else we can do for this. Okay. So let's try and remove. You can actually, this is how you sheath the sword on his back. And of course, one of the features that a lot of that we're all familiar with is of him trying to remove the sword from the back of his. Can he do the move? The hands are really stiff, but there we go. So you can have him hold the sword behind his back and do the thing. Somewhat, he doesn't completely slide the sword out of the sheath, but he can do the pose if you want him. Have him with the sword in the back. But let's try and remove the armor. So they are only held in through these pegs here on the back. And from what I just found out, the articulation isn't encumbered too much by the added accessories. Accessories meaning um, his armament and whatnot. So can you pull these out? Yes, you can. Although you expose a lot of what is the double peg system of the wrist. So that looks a little weird. And then I believe the loincloth bit, which isn't a loincloth like the vintage figure. It's more like a tasseled skirt, like Roman style, right? You can't remove that, and you can't remove the boots. So I don't know if these are easily the pieces are interchangeable like the Origins line. I believe you would need to pop off the different. Oh, and I forgot to mention there is a slight thigh twist within the ball joint system, so there's enough room there at the bottom of the ball joint. Excuse me, at the bottom of the ball joint to get some thigh twist, but you have the boot cut, so you don't really need the thigh cut. And just again for fun, let's try and swap out some armor pieces from the different versions that we have. Let's see. Let's start off with the. I'm not even gonna try the. I'm not even gonna try the Masterverse because like that figure is huge, so he's gonna be swimming in that. He's gonna be swimming in that harness. So here we have the cartoon collection, and I just noticed we're probably not gonna be able to fit it unless we get creative on how we slip it on, because we need to break apart the figure at the ball at the waist here. And I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's easily done without heat, so I am not going to attempt it. Let's see if I can get. I would need to heat this up, stretch it, put it over his head. And then, yeah, I would probably need some heat to stretch this harness out. It would probably be a good fit, but not at this moment. But basically, this is what he would look like with an old school Filmation harness. I would think this would fit well because the cartoon collection buck is a little slimmer than the vintage style origins. And then speaking of, so here is the origins vintage style harness, and again, this uses the I will need to break apart at the waist to have him put this on as, but I think this one would be a little more floaty because of the size of the chest of the Origins figure. But that's how he would look like with the Origin style harness. Maybe it would fit. I don't know. But like I said, without having to heat this up and stretch it to try to get it over his head and then between the arms. If I find a way later on, I'll post some pictures throughout the review. If I found a way to put the harnesses on. And again, just for fun, here we will give him the cartoon collection sword, which but let's compare the cartoon collection sword versus the movie sword, which, like I said, draws large inspiration from this version than from the original vintage toy sword. So this is how. Let's see. This one's slightly larger, the cartoon collection sword. But this is how you would see how they would look. Double wielding. I guess they could work. You know, I don't know if you could say that this sword is oversized and these are appropriately sized, but it's up to you in your imagination. And speaking of so like I said, the axe, he doesn't come with an axe on this version. So far in the movie, he doesn't have an axe, but we can give them either the the Origins axe or the Masterverse axe. So there's that one. And that one. So again, just depends on your taste. Which one do you think fits the the character better? I definitely think this one fits better because it's also in line, almost in line with the look of the sword, right? With the wrapping around the handle. So there's that one. From what I understand, the so there's also another line of uh, movie figures that are out, which I believe they're called the, well, officially not known, but a lot of people refer to them as the core figures, which are slightly. So we have the Chronicles line, we're gonna have the Origins style figures that are gonna be releasing, and there's the middle ground version, which uses the sculpting similar to the movie sculpt, with a little more simplified articulation system. I don't believe they have like ankle joints or wrist joints, but do have like the basic articulation. And those, I believe, do have swappable the loincloth. So if you remove the loincloth on that one, underneath he will have the classic style He-Man, um, loincloth look, which this guy underneath does not have. So yeah, the range on the butterfly joints isn't the best. The only thing that I can, the only thing that I hopefully, I'm hoping for when it comes to the DC line, if they're gonna use this type of a similar sculpting, just make the chest wider for for heroic proportions in terms of like comic book characters. Just make the chest wider, and then fix the butterfly in terms of like the range going forward. But other than that, I'm really pleased with how this sculpt and the articulation functions on the figure. So I'm hopeful, like I said, for the future DC line coming in. And like I said earlier, I decided, like I did have previously also, bought the Triclops and the Man at Arms. So here they are, and to close out the video. I'll do separate reviews of these guys. So watch out for those in the coming weeks. But yeah, overall, I am really, really happy for the future of Mattel going with this Chronicles line, and also as far as Mattel for the my hopes are up for their DC lines of figures that will be coming out next year. So far, we haven't seen anything as far as previews for the collector's line. Hopefully, by Comic Con, which is a couple of months away, they give us a preview of what the figures are going to look like. But as far as Masters of the Universe go, I'm really happy with these updated looks and designs. They stay true to the core of the characters, Obviously with some changes. But Man at Arms, as you can see, he's pretty much close to the design from the original action figure. Triclops looks just like the Triclops from the original, but again, they're all updated, of course, because of modern times, modern stylings, and all of that. But they still look true to their character. But yeah, so far I'm really happy, and I'm excited for what's to come in the future. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about these new Chronicles figures. Are you excited for what's coming in the future in terms of like, are you hopeful that these sculpts and articulation features and all of that, are you happy with what they've done in terms of shrinking down the figures down to a true 1/12 scale instead of using the 7-inch scale for Masterverse? Um, you know, are you happy for? Are you excited for what Mattel may do with the DCE line now that we've gotten a good idea of what they may possibly be thinking of doing based off of the Chronicles figures? So yeah, comment below and let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. And I'll see you in the next one.